This is one of two documents that I typically provide my clients. This is the service breakdown. This isn't what they sign. That's the other part that we'll look at in a moment. But this is actually what outlines exactly what I'm going to do. Now, this is a starting point for you, and I just kind of threw a bunch of things in here. Please take and subtract depending on what you're going to be doing, what services you're providing, or whatever. But this is just a starting point. You can see here that I brand it with my header there, and you can do however you like there. But this is the services breakdown. Now this is for a $1,500 a month package, just to get an idea. Now I also ask for an upfront fee too. So this first part here just talks about what is in the setup, because I want to separate what I'm doing in the setup and then what I'm going to be doing on an ongoing basis, so they understand why they're paying a setup fee to begin with. And I go through, a detailed analysis of their current website. Now, which between you and me, I've already done this at this point already, now that we're talking about a contract. But, I'll talk about how I'm going to go even more in depth and really take a look at their competition, because that's important. And again, you can learn more about what each one of these things is in the SEO section, but this is how I lay it out in the contract. I think it's important to let them know that you're going to be tracking everything. You're going to be setting up, I like to use Google Analytics, or however you're going to do that. I'm going to be creating YouTube videos and articles and a press release if they like. Registration in the business directories. And then one thing I like to do is I like to throw out names of things. This is something that you can outsource. For a very small fee, you can get microblogs created on popular websites, because again, I'll be talking to them about how, ranking in the search engines is like an election. You need to have a presence across the internet, and we're going to get you a presence on each one of these places. It's like you're going to have a mini site on each one of these places here, and I like to just throw the names out. And even though these might not all be the ones that I use, because some they come and go, and you can look to me to keep you updated on that, but this kind of gives you an idea. We're going to be working with RSS and article directories, and it just goes on and on. I also mentioned video sites that I work with, and then I break things out to include the first month of promotion. Now, when they pay me the first time, they pay me for the setup and also the first month of promotion all at once. So that's one fee. So I include that here in this part of the information as well, and you can see here that for the first month of promotion, I'm going to be doing the videos and distributing the articles, because the setup, that was all creating things, but now that they're created, we're going to distribute them, and that's where the promotion piece comes into play. And again, this is just how I outline it to them, because I found that it makes sense. First we're going to create things, and then we're going to distribute things. And I just mentioned them all here. And then we move on to our monthly promotion, which is going to be what happens on an ongoing basis. We're going to continue to create some new content every month, and then we're going to distribute it. And again, don't be concerned about the outsourcing piece, because you can have somebody create it for you, and then you can have someone promote it for you. Very, very straightforward. But I think it doesn't hurt to make it sound a little bit more complicated in the contract, because they're going to be paying you, $1,000, $2,000. You don't just want to say, "Oh, this is only going to take me, an hour to do." You don't want to, you don't want to say that. Obviously, you want to make it sound a lot more complicated, because it is going to take people, a good amount of time to do. It's just that you're not going to be particularly doing it yourself. So then you can just see here that I also have this part, and I think this is important to have, that internet SEO promotion is an ever-changing process, and I'll keep you aware of that when I create new tools to utilize additional promotion methods, because next month I might start doing something else. So, please be looking in the members area, because when I find something that's going to work better, I'm going to share it with you too. So, I've never had anybody question me and say, "Hey, why wasn't there a blog on Ning? I noticed you didn't do that." Well, sir, ma'am, because I did this instead. It comes down to, I'm giving them an idea of what I do. They're paying me, they're trusting me, they're getting results, and, I'm certainly doing what I said I would do, even if it might change a bit over time, because this is a fluid business, and they're going to appreciate knowing that you're going to stay on top of your game and continue to do whatever you think is going to be the best for them to get good rankings. That's the bottom line here. And then I break things out too. This, you can just see that we talk about social media. We're looking at Twitter and Facebook, and form marketing too is something to consider as well. And that would be where, let's say, for example, that your client is located in Philadelphia, and you're going to be posting just on local forums in their area, or if you're working with a client that's worldwide, and you can find specific niches that you can be promoting as well, and that's something, of course, that you can outsource as well. And what I do is I try to bundle services also. You can see that the cost of all three of these would be $900 a month, but they can go for all three of them for $700 a month. And again, they can be outsourced as well. Then I break down email capture and marketing. If they're looking for a squeeze page, auto responder campaign, then again, you can find out how to do all that stuff in that section of the course. But this is how I outline it in this services overview here. Now, what I'll do is if I go into a meeting and I know that they're not interested in email marketing, then I'll take this out because I don't want to overwhelm them with additional things. But if you're going into a meeting blind and you don't know, I'll put it all in and I'll say, this is what I have to offer. And then I also at the end here have an attachment where I talk about social bookmarking, and again, this is something that you can outsource. My goodness, for a couple dollars on Fiverr, you can get bookmarks to all these different kinds of places. And just to be able to throw out here, these are just an example of some of the places that we're going to be working with. They're going to be like, wow, this person is really on top of it. They know understand what to do on the internet, and this is good stuff. I'm going to be getting my money's worth, and this it helps to further show that to them. Okay, now this is the actual contract, and what I like to do is I will just oftentimes print it out just like this, because this way I can go into a meeting, and even if the business owner is not decided exactly what they want. Let's say that I've determined this is how much it's going to cost for the SEO, but they don't know if they're going to go with the Facebook. That's okay, because I can just make the check marks and they can sign at the end of the meeting while I'm there. Or if for example you were going to be offering them different levels of packages, that's another thing that I do too, and I have that for you to take a look too, because you can see how in some instances I break things down and say, here's level A, B, and C. You can be doing SEO and we can go all out for this much, or we can back off on some of the money and do less, but still a good deal, and then the different levels. So you can have that all mapped in here. Now, then at the top I have the first month fee total, that includes the setup fees, and then I mention what the ongoing fee is going to be, and then I have the total due to begin services. So the way that I do it is if it's going to cost them $700 a month on a monthly basis, but it's $1,000 upfront setup, that means that they need to pay $1,700 to me to start, and then after that it's going to be $700 a month on an ongoing basis. So I just outline that there, and then I say, services will begin the day of the first payment of, and then I write obviously the total in there, and then the monthly fee goes there too. So then we have the specifics here, and again, what does all this include? That's why it's important to have that other document too, because both of them together really spell out exactly what it is that I'm going to do. And you can scroll down and you can see. Now this is an important part here. This is where I talk about LES, that's me, Local E-Commerce Solutions, an online content management system where you'll be able to view 24/7 list of all tasks that have been completed and will be completed. Now this is up to you. You don't have to provide this, and you can learn more about this in the training videos. But some people I've worked with have liked to see a list of things I'm working on as I complete them and whatnot. It is a higher level of accountability for you, and not something that I would do with a smaller client. But if I was working with a big client and they wanted this, I would put it in there. You don't have to. Access and ownership of all web services performed. What I like to do is whenever I go out and I create all these things, if I'm creating websites for them, if I'm creating blogs for them, I want them to understand that they belong to them. I mean, technically, the Facebook page belongs to Facebook, but they're going to have control of it. There are some people that, they'll build a website and then they own it and they rent it to the company. I don't do it that way. You can, but I like to let people know up front that this is going to be their stuff, just because that's the way that I operate. Services will be as hands-off or hands-on for you as possible. What I let people know that I want to be transparent, because the way that I work is I really don't like to hide anything. I like to put it all out there, and some might say, what if the business owner then just takes this and does it all themselves? Well, if they do, they do, but that's never happened to me, because what business owner is going to sit down and sign up for all these blogs and even post on Facebook daily? It's not realistic. They're looking for someone to do it for them. So, I don't have a problem sharing with them what I'm doing. On the other hand, if you sit down in a meeting and you start to say, all the different things you're going to be doing, and I'm going to need this from you, and I'm going to need this from you, you'll see that the business owner might start to look uncomfortable, because they really want to be able to just give you a check and then have you do everything. So I like people to know that if they want to be hands-on, that's great, but if they also want to be hands-off and they just give me overall direction, I can just go ahead and do it. And obviously, I prefer that that people be hands off because that makes it easier for me. But the hands on thing is okay, and the times that I've worked with businesses that have been hands on, it doesn't stay hands on. I think they just need to see that you're working, and then they'll start to back off a bit. And again, when you have all these things that you're doing for them and they're being outsourced, it's very easy to be able to show them this is all the work that was done for you, even though you aren't really doing it yourself for the most part. Phone meeting conversations can be recorded to give you documentation about what services we are providing should you ever want to review anything. So this is also just another level of accountability for you. You don't have to do this, but I always let people know this. I've never once had anyone say, let's record this. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but again, I think it helps people see that I'm no nonsense, that I'm not afraid to say, I'm going to pull a fast one. I'm putting it out there, and that's how I operate. Monthly reports on your website traffic and results. Now you can change that to be regular reports if you don't want to be providing them every month. And honestly, I'll provide monthly reports at first, but then as they get more comfortable with me, then we might go to 3 months, and I'll talk to them about that too. And it really depends on what they want. I mean, I think the biggest report is that they see they're getting business from your efforts, and that's the big one. But especially in the beginning, I think it's important to really be letting them know, at least on a monthly basis, how things are going. And I'm also going to let them know additional feedback on their website and current marketing methods, because they hire me as their consultant, and that means that if I come in and start to do website work for them, and I realize that they're sending emails out and doing a terrible job at it, I want to be able to say to them, hey, listen, here's something for you to consider, because they're getting my expertise. Now you might be thinking I'm not going to have that, and that's okay, but you will evolve to get it. And if you just learn enough to know that if they're spending all this money to send postcards through the mail, they could be doing email, and you can have somebody do that for you. You could say to them, you should be doing email marketing, and even though I don't provide that myself, so and so over here could do it for you, and then obviously then you could get a commission on that sale. So I like to put that in there. Now, what do I ask them to provide me? Because this is important, because they need to give us some things too, or else we're going to have a really hard time providing services to them. They need to give us background information and feedback, as we find the best way to promote their business's presence online. This means that if I'm going to be promoting a dentist, they need to tell me, I want to be able to get clients for teeth whitening, or I want to get people for cavities. That's what I want, because if they don't let you know what they want, then you might start going out and try to rank them for keywords that they're not even interested in. It's not good. You need some direction from them. Now, we provide forms to you that you can just use to get this information, but they got to give it to you. And I like to, people need to know this up front, but I also like to tell them, listen, it's only going to take an hour of your time, and it could just be me asking you the questions and writing it down. It's not a big deal. You can have your assistant do it, whatever. But I do need it, because without it, I can't work. The ability to work with the person managing your website, so a few lines of code can be added for tracking purposes, and also other things too. If you're doing SEO, you are going to need to make some changes to the website, or the person that you pay to do that. So they need to give you access, and this is just something that needs to be laid out up front. I've never had a problem with this, though sometimes you don't want any surprises. You don't want them to pay you and then be like, what, you need access to my website? And it's kind of like if you were going to pay someone to remodel your kitchen. I mean, of course you need to let them in. If they can't come in, how are they going to do it? And it's the same thing here with what we're providing as well. Okay, payment that is on time for services provided. That's an obvious one, that they need to pay you, and if they don't, here's what's going to happen. And this is how I handle this. I have them initial these things here because I think that they're really important things that they need to read individually, because you know how contracts can go. You can kind of scan through stuff and maybe you miss stuff, but these are big deals, so I want to review them individually. I understand that this agreement is provided on a month-to-month basis and can be canceled at any time. I ask for written notice 30 days prior before cancellation is made. This is something that it's the way that I do it. Some people like to say, you need to work with me for 3 months, and then we'll take a review of everything, and then it can be once a month. Some people will say, I need you to work for me for a year. Change this to be however you want. I've gone with this because I found that, especially with getting clients that have been advertising on the Yellow Pages, they're year-long contracts, and what happens, unfortunately for them, is that they'll sign a year contract, and then 2 months in they'll realize it's a bad idea, and too bad, they're stuck. And I think that they're afraid of repeating that mistake, even though we present a very compelling case. There's still going to be concerned, and this really helps to alleviate that concern, and also puts pressure on you to perform, because if you can't perform for them, I'll tell them, hey, listen, I'm going to do my best to get you traffic, and we have every reason to believe it's going to work for you because it's worked. This is a proven method. However, if it doesn't, I do not want your money, because this is why I don't require you to sign up for your contract. I understand that I'm sure you've entered into other contracts and they didn't work out, and this is a performance-based model which puts the risk and the pressure onto me. Obviously, they're still paying you no matter what something, but still, it helps meet them more in the middle. They still have to pay some money to you, but they're not locked into the year-long thing. Now, you might not agree with that, and it's okay, because I can tell you there's plenty of people in the industry that don't agree with that, but that's just my 2 cents, and that's how I have it written in there for you, but you do whatever you want. I also understand that my membership rate for the agreed upon service is locked in for the time period of 1 year. This means this fee will not be increased on you. So what will happen is that if you're charging someone $1,000 a month, 2 months down the road, you're not going to turn around and charge them an extra $500 unless obviously you're changing your services. They're locking in with you, and then after a year you have a right to increase it, because again, this is something that they're used to. Unfortunately, that they'll pay for a service, they'll like it, and then here comes the hook, line, and sinker, and they're have to pay more. If you want to continue to work with me, you know what? I'm going to double the amount I'm charging you, and this protects them, so they like that too. Okay, I'm aware that I will be charged a fee of $20 in the event that a check does not clear. That's a very typical thing, because if a check doesn't clear, you are going to get fined, and we don't want that to happen. Fortunately, I never had that happen to me, but still, I think it's a good thing to have in there. I understand that a payment that is more than 10 days late will incur a $20 late charge and will initiate a freeze on any work that LES is providing for you. Oops, that's a mistake there. So, I think this is important to have in there as well, because if they're not going to pay, you don't want to be working. Now, I have had a couple businesses be late on payment, and the economy is rough, and it was because there's some. For example, there's a restaurant that I work with, and he's kind of had some up and down times, and then he was a month late, so I had to call him. What's going on? I understand I can't keep on working, and at that point he was a client with me for a while, so I had to freeze my work, and then we were able to start back up again. Like the next month. I didn't charge him the $20 late charge, even though I could have. I didn't, because he was with me for a year. But still, the really important thing there is that you are not working if you're not getting paid. This is a nice model because it allows you to get paid up front, especially when you consider that you have your own costs as well to be paying to outsourcers and just everything else. That you really should not be spotting businesses' money. Don't do that, because it's just not a good idea, especially when you're first starting out, or I guess any time, because this is the expectation. Don't just take an IOU. They listen. I'm running a business here, and I need this, and honestly, I can't provide you these services on a guarantee of future payment when you can't pay now, when I could be going and working with someone else and be getting the money. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. Now, you certainly can work things out, because again, the restaurant that I worked with, he just had a rough time, and we froze work, and that was okay. I wasn't going to go find someone else, because I had a good relationship with him, and then he was able to start back up again, so it was all good. But still, that's up to you, but you really have to protect yourself and let them know, if you don't pay, I'm not going to be working, just so you understand that, and obviously they should not be expecting it. So then down here we just have the whole, you sign it, they sign it, they print their name, you print your name, and you got it, you're done. And that's what I've worked with here. So again, you can modify that to suit your own needs, and please, ask questions about it, and we can figure out together what questions you have about this, and if we need to modify it in the future, we certainly will do that as well.